Okay, so what I think, where I think we left off with is we had done the planning budget. This is 9-5. This was our kind of our last reinforcement from this unit. And then I gave you the actual numbers. So really all we had to do was the flexible budget. What level am I doing the flexible budget at? In other words, what activity drivers am I using? Yeah, the actual, right? So can somebody just give me the numbers that they have in here? Did you finish it up? So our flexible budget for sales, number of passengers times, I think we charge $25 a pop, correct? Yep. And the vessel operating costs were 5,200 plus 480 per cruise, plus $2 a passenger. And the advertising was fixed. And the admin was $4,300 plus $24 per cruise, times $1 per passenger. Insurance was fixed, and therefore our net operating income was 12,564. Go ahead.
If the advertising is fixed,
Yeah.
why is it the actual advertising more?
That's one of the questions we're going to try and answer by doing our variance analysis. Clearly, the fixed cost should be the same. Okay, so just to reinforce before we do the variances, on this budget, what did we do first? What's the very first step always on a flex budget? Sorry? Yeah, you put up the number that you're planning into the future, right? Because I'm sitting here working, I think they were May working on June or something. Well, yeah, whatever. They're sitting in June working on July. So we did the planning budget first. Then you go and the actual time period passes, so you get the actual results. And then I do the flexible budget based on which numbers, the 2414 or the 221716? The 22 and 1716. In other words, what would my budget be based on the number of passengers and cruises that actually showed up? What am I going to do next? Yeah, I'm going to do my variances. Thank you. What variances are the difference between the actual results and the flexible budget at the actual level? That's my revenue and spending variances. Very good. And my formula is just going to be the difference between the two. And then I'm going to add a little column in here. How come? Yeah, for my U or my F. So for my sales, is that a favorable or an unfavorable revenue and spending variance? It's unfavorable because, yeah, it was less than, exactly. And how about the operating costs? Favorable because those are expenses and they were less than they should have been at that level. How about advertising? And admin, favorable, and nothing here. And so my net operating income is what? Flexible budget 12.5, actually, yeah, that's a U. Okay. So let's do the next set, and then we'll talk about the responsibility piece. Okay, so what's the difference then between the flexible budget and the planning budget? That's called what? That is solely based upon the fact that the flexible budget was at one activity level and the planning budget was at another level, right? So of course, these numbers, I mean, I had a whole bunch more passengers than I thought, so this is what kind of variance? Favorable. And so let's go ahead and just carry this formula down. So go ahead and fill in your F's and your U's. Let's see. So my flexible budget's more than my planning budget. Is that a good or a bad thing? Bigger, so that's a favorable. And your planning budget. So what do these variances mean? Who am I going to hold accountable in the responsibility accounting piece of this?
What is your net operating for that one on the
Because, no, sorry, other way around. That should be favorable, my bad. So the activity variances really only tell us what happened because I was at a different level than I thought I was going to be at. These variances, these revenue and spending variances, these are the ones that I'm going to take to the folks on the ground and say, what happened with our vessel operating costs? And it's sort of hard to speculate using an academic example. When you're actually on the ground in the business, you know, for example, that your fuel prices went up, or your docking charges went up, or your slip, you know, the amount to slip the boat went up. So I can't really speculate, but and it may be that somebody wasn't, you know, tightly managing the operating costs. So I'm going to delve into that and try and figure out one by one who's responsible for them, and should I be adjusting my budget in the future, or was it somebody's performance problems? Does that basically make sense? Do you feel like you would be able to do a small one of these on an exam? What do I have to give you? The actual numbers and the formulas. Okay. I think what else we were doing today was to go through our homework, right? So we're starting on 9-1. Solutions. So this is Puget Sound Divers, is a company that provides diving services with underwater ship repairs to clients in the Puget Sound. And they have a planning budget for May, and it appears below. They've got what's their activity driver? Number of diving hours. And they think that they do charge, or are planning on charging, $365 per hour that they're underwater. Wages and salaries, is that a fixed, mixed, or variable cost? Yeah, it looks like it's a mixed cost. Supplies are fixed, equipment's mixed, et cetera, et cetera. And then it said during May, they actually dove 105 hours, and they want a flexible budget for that level. So are they asking you to do the whole analysis that we just completed in 9-5? No, they just want you to do the flex budget. Let's get in here. And basically all they're asking is for the column that would read flexible budget, can you prepare what should have happened at the 105-hour level? Shouldn't be any issues here. Okay, and then number 2, Flight Cafe is a company that prepares in-flight meals for airlines in its kitchen located next to the local airport. And they're planning on selling 18,000 meals, it looks like, in July. And they actually served or sold 17,800 meals. And they gave you the flexible budget at the 17.8 level. And they want to know what the activity variances are for July. And can you define an activity variance for me again? What is that? Go ahead. It is, and it's only attributable to what? Difference in activity drivers, exactly. Does it have anything to do with cost control or revenue generation? Nope, it simply says by the sheer number that you sold 200 less meals, here's what happens. So as you would expect, their net operating income is unfavorable. And then it asks, which of the activity variances should management be concerned about? And it basically says just what we were saying, the individual items really shouldn't receive any attention because, of course, it's not going to cost as much expense. The expenses aren't going to be as high and the revenues aren't going to be as high because I sold less meals. What they should be concerned with was, why was it off the projection by 200 meals? Were the projections accurate? Were the sales, are the sales falling? Do we have new competitors? What's going on? Any issues with these? Okay. Number 3, now we're doing the revenue and spending variances. We're at Oysteria Farms. They sell oysters in the Pacific Northwest. The company harvested and sold 8,000 pounds of oysters, and here's their flexible budget. So we don't even know what they were planning on doing. And then they tell us what they actually did. They pulled the numbers straight from their accounting software. And here are their revenue and spending variances. So this one you actually can dig into and say, where do you think some issues are? Where do you think some issues are? And do you only look at the unfavorables on the expense side? Where do you think we've got some things to discuss? So would you, if this was your company, would you just be fine? Like the operating income was higher than I thought, so it's all good? Why not? My maintenance was under. And I guess it's a tiny amount, but is that an issue? Do you want your maintenance to be way under budget in any business? Not really. That's short, saving money in the short term, and it's probably going to have long-term implications, as we all know. So this is an immaterial amount. It's only $100. Your packing supplies, your shipping are both off. What's going on there? Is postage gone up? Is freight gone up? Am I maybe needing to bid out my shipping, rebid it out, and get some new vendors in to bid it? What about the revenue? A lot. So they've been selling they've been selling their oysters for a whole bunch more than $4 a pound. It looks like they've been selling them for about $4.20 a pound for the actual results. So that might be indicative that the market's now bearing a higher price. So I want to refurbish my budgets in the future, right? The point being is that when we generate these, we don't just generate them because we love to do spreadsheets. We use them to analyze our business and assign responsibility for good performance and for things that need to be resolved in the future. Okay, 9.4. So this is the full budget. It looks like we do flyovers. What the heck's that? Oh, scenic overflights of Mount St. Helens. It did not erupt in 1982. It erupted in 1980.
Yeah, I was there.
Well, I was going to say it was the year I moved to Montana, so I know dang well it was 1980. It was May 18th, 1980, exactly.
And my dad was accusing me, my sisters, of getting the longest trying to sleep. We were. So he came in and he was like, I heard you, don't you what? And about that time, boom, and I was like, oh, never mind.
It's a volcano. So what do they give us? Oh, they give us all three. I wouldn't have given you the flexible budget numbers. What I would do is I would give you the planning budget, or I would give you the formulas and the number. I would give you the actual results, and then you should be able to do everything else, just like we practiced on 9-5, right? The formulas and then the actual results really is all that you need. So they want to know what happened with our flyovers. We planned for 3560. We had 2 less flyovers, so we only earned $814. $336 of that fall is attributable to what? So my question is, I planned for $3,560 of operating income, and I actually got $814. So that is something that is a pretty great concern. $336 of that drop is based sheerly on what? Yeah, no, yeah, 336 was based on the fact that I had 48 flights rather than 50, right? That's my activity variance. It's solely based on the fact that I flew 2 less flights. But $2,410 of it is based on unfavorable sales, higher than I'd expected wages, salaries, fuel, and office expenses. And I saved a little bit on airport fees. So it said, the last sentence on the wrap-up here says, the other spending variances are relatively small, and but are worth some management attention, particularly if they recur next month. The point in doing these is that the minute that you can get an analysis as to what happened, you can start to address the problems. And like I said, in most small businesses, actually probably all small businesses, management would be able to look at this immediately and tell you why those variances are as they are. Like the revenue was down this month because we contracted to do some flyovers with the school and we gave them a discount price, or, we did a Camp Make a Dream and we flew a couple flights for no revenues. You'll know why your numbers are off. And you may be able to do something about it, and it may be, you may not be able to do something about it. But the analysis should be part of your monthly wrap-ups. 917. This is basically same. We're doing air quality tests here. I don't think there was anything out of the ordinary with this one, was there? It's a mobile lab. They thought they were going to do 50 jobs in February, but they actually did 52. And they wanted to see a full analysis. They planned for $950 of income, and they actually made $1,780. Part of that was based on the fact that they did two more jobs, because they really didn't do a particularly good job of controlling expenses, did they? Where do you see that? Office expense was high. What else? Really, that's the only number that kind of sticks out. Let me make a point of this too. So technicians' wages were $50 unfavorable out of a base flexible budget of $6,400. So what percentage is that off? Can you guys calculate that for me and tell me whether you think that's material? How much was that variance off from a percentage standpoint? And do you think it's material? Yay or nay? How much was it off percentage-wise? 7%. Oh, 0.7%. 0.7%. It's less than 1%. Is that material? Are you going to spend any time looking at that? Probably not. It's probably somebody worked 2 hours of overtime, right? So how about, like, how much were my mobile lab operating expenses off percentage-wise? 4%? So is that worth taking a look at? That's probably material, 0.04, 4%, right? You might take a look at that and say, oh, we just went with a new, somebody new for giving us our plates or our, our solutions or whatever. This new vendor, the quality performance was everything was, equivalent. We saved 4% on our operating expenses. Yeah, I think I'm interested in signing a long-term contract with this vendor. So those are the kinds of decisions that you would make. Okay, and then the last one that I think we had to do for this chapter, turn editing on, was 521. I'll put this up so that you guys can look at it later if you want to. Okay, so you don't want to download or what? You may not be looking at this. So this was critiquing a report and preparing a performance budget report. And it was for a flight school that offers flying lessons. The school's owner and manager has been attempting to evaluate performances and control costs. In the first question, well, I guess probably we should actually look at the report first. Was this not part of today?
This is the practice problem for today, and this is the one that's due.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so that's for Wednesday.
Right.
Okay, never mind.
Okay, was that 9:21?
9:21. Yep. Okay, well, we'll just go back and hide that. Okay. So what I have to just work on the rest of today, I thought was just kind of a fun little flexible budgeting. I pulled this. This was part of the CMA exam that I took with the certified managerial accountant, whatever, 30 years ago, eons ago. And this is kind of it's just a good example of the kinds of things you'd see like on the CPA test or the CNA test. It's a flexible budgeting problem. And let's just take some time and read through it, and then we'll just spend the rest of the time kind of setting it up for our last practice here.
Do they have lots of which ones?
No, it's all problems. I honestly don't know what the CPA looks like anymore. It used to be probably about 60% multiple choice and 40% problems. I have to do 40 hours a year, yeah. Expensive. No, it's 40 hours like speaking at conferences or leading workshops or taking classes or writing the slides. And that's taking credit for writing textbook stuff. When I wrote my book, I got credit.
I eventually got a trial and then.
Oh, you can't imagine. Right. And it's hell expensive. I mean, it's a couple grand a year.
I'm not seeing, I
I mean, like last year I went and spoke in Reno, and of course, I had to pay to get out there and do all that. No. Oh, I got $600. Yeah, they gave me a speaker's fee, but I mean, it costs way more than that to fly there and stay there and rent a car and blah, blah, blah.
You have to do like your whole education.
Oh, it's for my CPA license. Okay, let's take a look at this. This is a university. They have a fleet, right? So they have a fleet of vehicles that does, like maintenance, primarily maintenance. Well, and also I guess the universities own cars that people take when they travel within the region, professors and staff. Okay, so the supervisor is unhappy with the following performance evaluation report that the administration partially uses to assess how well he is doing on the job. You should use your new concepts to determine why he's unhappy. In April, the 17 vehicles that are in the fleet were driven 33,000 miles, actually. And the following budget report was prepared by the university administration. So they had budgeted for 30,000 miles. And here, on the far left column, there's the budget. And then here's what actually happened. 33,000 miles were driven. And then a column showing the variances. So he's being assessed, and they're saying, you had unfavorable performance and negative. Oh, it's just expenses. Sorry, it's not a revenue. There's no revenue associated here. It's just a cost center. So your expenses were $1,173 more than they should have been. And the budget was based on the following assumptions. That each car was driven 24,000 miles. Miles per gallon was 20. Cost per gallon was 4. Cost per mile for oil and minor repairs, 5 cents. And then the fixed cost for commercial repairs, insurance, and depreciation. And then the salary allocable to the gentleman that's managing the fleet. And the questions are, what type of budget report was prepared by the university, and was the supervisor's unhappiness justified, and why? Then you should prepare a performance report for April using a flexible budget, clearly showing activity and revenue and spending variances, and you should use Excel. And then C, I want you to evaluate the supervisor's performance based on this budget report. So I'll give you up to 10 points of extra credit for it by Wednesday. Yeah, please. It's a fun project. I know. Okay, and let's see, Monica, you're going to have to do this when you come back because I don't think I've got an electronic copy of this project, unfortunately.